Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords. And I've picked up some random books here to put out to show off here. So here's Baptism of Fire. Now this is the soft cover version of Baptism of Fire. I usually show the hardcover book, but I thought you might like to see. The soft cover looks pretty much as good, except of course it's a soft cover. You can see I'm using some old receipt as a little bookmark there, because that is actually the copy I use day to day when I'm running my game. You know, I leave the hardcover on the shelf. I use the soft cover for messing around. You know, and then over here you have the hardcover of Heroes and Villains of the Silk Road, which is a collection of all the historical NPCs with their stats and all kinds of details and adventure hooks and additions to the timeline of the Sword and Caravan setting. It also makes a great resource for any game, and if you're interested in the history of the Silk Road region just before and during the invasion of Genghis Khan, it's actually it's basically a history book. You know, it really is. It's got all kinds of, like, almost everyone listed in it is a real person, right? Pretty much everyone, except maybe the old man of the mountain. But everybody else is real, and it tells you their story, and it's crazy. It's fascinating. And then World of the Last Sun, my epic Gonzo D&D setting, and it is that's the basic setting book for it to start you out. So be sure to check out all of those and all of my other products. You can find the links to all of them in the extension of the description of this video. You'll see all the links, including my current periodical series, the Pundit Files, where the latest Pundit Files as of right now is, I think it's 30, I don't remember if it's 32 or 33, but it's called the Great Combat Wheel-Barrow-Maze, okay? And it is a combination of having a kind of wacky racist sort of Gonzo adventure in a dungeon where you have to play in teams and where people have to go in wheelbarrows, and it is a slight mockery of the combat wheelchair, obviously, and it is a dungeon that can be reused over and over again because the format of it will change every time. So it's really worth it. It's only $3.50. If you got $3.50, you can get yourself an issue of the Pundit Files. Be sure to check it out if you're into any kind of these kind of like challenge dungeons, which is what this is, and take a look. All right, so I wasn't actually planning on doing a video today. It's like right now, I think it's like 15 minutes before Diversity and Dragons show. So you know, this was not part of the plan. It really wasn't. But here we are, because I had discovered something that I thought fascinating while I was arguing with people on the RPG site. Apparently there's even some critter fans out on the RPG site who are trying to defend it, and some other people who were enamored with the overly complex system of play that I described in my previous video. But I found out something. They're giving the opportunity to create third-party content, right? And for this, of course, they have a gaming license. Now, here, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of all of this started back when Wizards of the Coast decided they were going to try to change the open gaming license. And so they presented their new and better gaming license that would have allowed them to steal anything you have, that would have allowed them to shut you down much more easily, that would have let them copy your stuff, and that would have forced you, that they could have tried to use it to force you to pay royalties on your own third-party product. And it was terrible, right? And so that was the moment where a whole bunch of these people, Matt Colville, Matt Mercer, a lot of small gaming companies who are doing third-party products for 5e, some OSR companies, all went off and said, fuck you, we're going to create our own OGL, we're going to create our own games that are going to be just as good as D&D. And now, a couple of people did create their own OGLs, which were probably okay, but then, eventually, if you'll remember, it's all in my videos, the Wizards of the Coast surrendered eventually, after many attempts of trying to find some way around it, But eventually they gave in. It was really important to them because that was part of what it depended for them to be able to follow their whole big plan for digitalizing D&D. But it failed. And finally they had to start it because they saw that they were losing everyone, right? And they still did. I mean, it still cost them everything. But they went back and said, no, okay, so guess what? We're going to make it like we're going to, what's the term here? Never mind, we're not going to change the Open Gaming License. And on top of that, we're going to put it into Creative Commons, right? So now everybody can use it completely freely forever. Nobody blah, 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 right? Okay, so then that took the wind off the sail of a lot of people who said, well, we're going to make our own system, right? It still created the fact of a few people, like in the OSR, changing the names of the stats on of the ability scores because they were afraid that now, Wizards with the new OGL would try to sue them. And so unfortunate stuff like that. And then the guys that decided to keep on with this, though, seem to be the big influencers. Not people who are actually any good at game design. People who are just big names that have made themselves big names because they have a big personality and they have the right equipment and technical advisors to create highly produced shows that have many, many, many fans, right? And those people decided, well, you know what? I'm missing an opportunity here. I have the opportunity to make my own game instead of using 5e, and then that money will go to me instead of Wizards. They wanted to take my money. They wanted to get my royalties to pay them for me to run this show and show off their game to 1 million YouTubers, and for those YouTubers to buy it, and screw them, right? From now on, I'm going to do my own thing. And so several people did. Among them, obviously, Matt Mercer. And that leads us to Daggerheart, right? So Daggerheart is now, it's doing really well in the sales because there are like about somewhere between 2 and 3 million Critical Role fans. So if even, a third of those were to buy the book, it would be a remarkably successful initial run. Unfortunately, almost none of them actually play RPGs, right? But they will buy it. They will buy it anyways as merch because they are obsessed, because they're fanboys of the man and the show, right? The Matt Mercer and of Critical Role. So it's going to be fairly successful. But now Mercer has these delusions, or some people anyways do. Certainly people who are Critter fans certainly do. I can't say for sure if Mercer believes this, but Critical Role fans, definitely there are many of them who believe it, that Daggerheart is the D&D killer, right? Now, I've been watching people claim that such and such game is the D&D killer for 8/10 of my life so far, right? That's quite a lot. So it's like, it's just stupid to me at this point, right? I remember in 2004, right? It was going to be, what was it? It was going to be the new, 2002, 2003. It was going to be the New World of Darkness, maybe 2001, I don't know. And then in 2004, it was like the GURPS revival. This time it'll really work, and stuff like that. Exalted will be the new D&D. It's so much better. And those things always fail, okay? And largely it's because people don't understand how this hobby works in terms of both the question of game design and marketing. You get some people that want to try to argue that, there's much more superior schools of ways of designing an RPG than what D&D does. I'm like, no, you don't get it. That's not how it works. Your theories about what are the better mechanics don't work, even if, first of all, because you have all of your assumptions wrong about what players actually want in a D&D experience. And second, because those are just not the important things to begin with. Anyway, none of those are going to replace D&D. Now, will they beat 2025 new D&D? Maybe for a little while. Obviously, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a very good chance actually, that Daggerheart will outsell the 5.5 edition of D&D. Sure, that's possible. But then after that, it'll be done because first off, it will only make the only people who will want to get this book are Critical Role fans. Okay, for the most part. I'm sure you can find some examples, some other person who gets fooled by it, but for the most part, these are Matt Mercer fans that are buying Matt Mercer merch. Right? They're not interested in the game. They're just buying it. And after that, it'll be done. Right? And second, Critical Role is already on a downhill slope. Right? Like, it is long past its peak level of fame and popularity and universal approbation. Right? It is now, I'm not quite sure if Candela Obscura amounts to a jumping the shark moment, but it's pretty damn close. Right? So, and if that's not it, it's coming. Right? Like, they're not coming back from that spiral, right? But they have delusions of grandeur, and so they have decided to put out their own OGL for third-party products, and that's always smart, right? Like, one of the secrets of why D&D is so successful is because of the compatibility with third-party products, right? With the fact that people can get all kinds of stuff for it, right? With the fact that the OSR is compatible to it, with the fact that the Dungeon Masters Guild stuff is there, right? So it is completely a logical strategy for Matt Mercer to want to encourage people to make third-party products. So he made his own OGL. And guess what? His own OGL has in it a clause that basically, if you make a product for Daggerheart, Matt Mercer, Critical Role, Darrington Press, whatever you want to call them, can take your ideas, take all of them, put them in their own books. They don't have to pay you a dime, right? And they will you can only oppose it if they have copied something you have written in the exact form and in total, right? So what that means is by accepting the OGL, by making a third-party product under the OGL, Darrington Press can basically steal all of your ideas. And they can even steal some of your text, apparently, because it says in full, right? So it would mean that they could copy like half a paragraph and, change the other half or something. They could, as long as they changed a few things, they could basically steal your work and publish it themselves, right? In one of their books or as their own product even. Who knows? Right? And this is one of the things that was in part of why people despised what Wizards of the Coast was trying to do with their OGL, right? It was horrible, right? And they're still doing that in some places, right? So this is the height of hypocrisy, right? Matt Mercer, the thing that motivated them, among other things, but the trigger actually, the thing that caused the first spark, let's say, was the OGL scandal of Wizards of the Coast, where everyone, and I'm sure, I haven't done it, but I'm sure that I could go back and find some video somewhere of Matt Mercer saying that this is really disappointing about Wizards of the Coast and what they're doing, and they don't care about their own fans and blah, 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 right? Something like that. Something that he'll say with the slightly sad, slightly concerned, caring face while he speaks in gentle tones, which is, Matt Mercer is extremely good at acting because nobody has any idea if he has any real personality at all. But he's great at generating them in exactly the right way at exactly the right moment so that stupid people will believe anything he says. So here he is, though, doing exactly the same thing. He could rip off all your stuff, right? And I can just see what his reply to that would be, right? I think that his first instinct would be to say something like, oh, yes, but you see, we're a community here. We're a family, the Critical Role family. We all care about each other. This is different because the critters know that we aren't going to abuse this, that they can trust us, that we will use it in the right and appropriate ways as is necessary for the benefit of all of us. and that might even fly given how fanatical and cult-like the critters are, But now if it didn't, he could then turn around and say, well, I didn't know anything about this, my ghostwriter did it, we're going to remove it or something like that, right? But it's not, it's really a problem, right? Like it's what it means, because a lot of critters are probably going to be people who will, the ones who might try to make a product. I don't think they're going to be like super experienced RPG designers, right? Game designers or writers even, because if you were doing that, you'd already be doing it for D&D. Why would you switch to Daggerheart, a niche game belonging to a weirdo sect, right? So they're not going to know this, and people aren't going to be reading this. You know, these aren't like hardened experts in the industry, right? And they're going to be falling in for this thing, right? That's not the only problem, right? Is that the Daggerheart gaming license also explicitly has it, like, it's not a license that gives you any protection. It gives you, this is the license at this moment, right? The genius of the original OGL, Ryan Dancy's open gaming license, is that it is perennial. It's unrevocable, right? They can make other licenses, but they can't change the OGL license of D&D. But there's nothing like that in this license. It doesn't give the creators, the third-party creators, any protections. On the contrary, it makes it clear that they can change their terms at any time, and if you continue to publish your products, it is presumed that you have accepted that change. Okay? So, what does that mean? It means that if they wanted to, they could, you know, in a couple of years' time, change the OGL to say that they would be able to charge a royalty, exactly like what the Wizards of the Coast was trying to do, you know, and then suddenly ambush the most successful people who are making Daggerheart products, assuming that any of this was going to be a success. And I have my strong doubts, but I think that at the beginning at least there is going to be enough, because if you think about it, let's say that there's for simplicity's sake 2 million Daggerheart viewers of any kind, right? Let's say that you get, you know, let's lowball it, right? Let's say 10% buy Daggerheart. So that's 200,000 people that bought Daggerheart, the fans, right? Of those, 100,000 are not going to ever play this again. But they might still buy it, but those people probably only buy the official stuff, right? So then you get the other half. You have another 100,000 there. And of those, you'll have probably only about 40 or 30,000 who might regularly buy stuff. Of course, that's also iffy, because those are the people, most of the people who are steady, constant role players that watch Critical Role, it means that they didn't start role-playing because of Critical Role. I think Critical Role has actually ended up generating very few new role players. It generated people who like to watch people playing D&D, but the people who like to also play D&D and watch Critical Role are people who were already playing D&D before they watched Critical Role, right? And so those people, a lot of them might not really be enamored of this ridiculous system that has been invented, this pseudo-story gaming, overburdened with meta currency, mechanics that slow everything down, and the whole thematic. Well, they'll probably be okay with the thematics of it, because these are presumably people who watch Critical Role, so apparently they won't care about like excessive drama or cutesy poo monsters or things like that, right? Like that they're probably okay with. But I would think that if they are like long-term D&D players, the mechanics might irritate them, right? So let's say that maybe only about 15,000 continue to buy products, third-party products for Daggerheart for some time. That's still enough of an audience that a third-party producer could do pretty well, right? And if we were more generous, if we like doubled it, if there were like 30,000 fairly regular potential customers, that's a fairly big pool, right, for a third-party producer, as long as you're producing stuff that's reasonable. So there would be potential money in it for some time, at least until Critical Role collapses, until the inevitable sex scandal overwhelms somebody in the cast, or until the company behind it goes bankrupt. I don't know. And something's going to happen, or they're just going to peter away into nothing as they realized that in the new era, their thing was very much a Joe Biden years thing, right? Like their thing was a thing for when people had to pretend to accept people declaring their pronouns, right? That's gone now. That time is done. The dark time is over, and you know, while the some vestige of the empire remains, the rebel forces are sweeping everything up right now, as you can see, and it's coming to a quick end. So the era of that sort of thing being like promoted at all levels as like the height of both sensitivity and popularity, because it's so wonderful, because it isn't something that is heroic, then, you know, sure, you know, that's done. That's over, right? But for a while, it might last, right? It'll peter out, in this case, Critical Role. It's already less popular than it was. And the point is that these guys could end up, third-party producers could end up making a number of products, becoming successful. And because they become successful, one of two things could happen. Either Darrington Press could decide to take some of their best stuff and essentially rewrite it very slightly and put it out for themselves to make their own money from it in a way that would obviously swamp the market compared to the original creator. Or they could go to this creator and say, well, you know what, we see you're doing really well, so we want you to suddenly have to give us a 20% tax. This is the protection money for you to be able to keep publishing. You know, and they changed the OGL, so now suddenly everybody's paying 20%, right, or 30 or whatever. That is something that could happen to someone at any time doing this. So here's my advice. Basically, I mean, I think most of you guys have no intention of writing for Daggerheart, but I was surprised to see that there were some people on the RPG site that are saying that, you know, that they're curious about or interested in Daggerheart. Some of them have even said that they've read it and they think it's a really cool system or whatever, and it's not a really cool. It won't do well in play, and you know, the best experience of it would be if you are one of those extremely overly dramatic theater kids. Yeah, that's what this game is made for. Extremely overly dramatic theater kids, because that's who the Critical Role cast are, right? And even then, it's only going to be so good, right? But if there are any of you that were thinking of this, any of you that were writing this, or if you know someone, if your idiot younger sister or something is a huge fan of Critical Role, send her the warning, okay? Let her know that Critical Role's OGL is set up to screw the fan base, potentially, right? Nobody's saying they absolutely have to, but that then depends on you believing that Matt Mercer is a trustworthy fellow, right? So I don't know how much you'd want to go ahead in that direction. I guess that's everything for today, and be sure to share this video anywhere you can, especially anywhere where it'll piss someone off, and check out all of my products. If you want to support me, then please subscribe, hit the like button. But check out my books. My books are great. My books are all OSR books. I don't charge anyone a royalty. On the contrary, I get royalties from my publishers. And be sure to take a look at my whole volume of work, because you're bound to find something you're going to find actually enjoyable and very interesting, and definitely not woke and any of that. Check out Baptism of Fire. It's a gold bestseller and probably going to get to platinum sometime soon. And all my other stuff. And mostly, though, share the video so that we spread the word about what they're up to over at Darrington Press. Currently smoking. This is a Lorenzetti half Volcano plus Argento Roots.